Good afternoon and welcome to Just Daf as part of Shiva YouTube. Today we're doing Kesubos Ayin Vav number 76. We're going to start in the middle of Ayin Ham Bays. That's where I left off on Ayin Ham on Daf Ayin Hay 75. We're talking about on Daf Ayin Hay an explanation of the Mishnah. The Mishnah seems to say that if the mumen are found in Beis Avia when she's in her father's house, so then ala avla havi raya. The father has to bring a proof. He has to bring a proof if he wants to collect the full ksuba for her, or to say that they're married at least. So he has to prove that the mumen happened after the erisin, not before the erisin. If it happened after the erisin, so the tanai was niskayim, right? And if the mumen are found based when she's nitzal base baila, when she already goes into her husband's house, when they get married, they're already together, presumably. So they had a bia. So then we assume, and he finds mumin. So then we assume that the burden of proof is on the husband to prove that it happened before the erisin. Otherwise, we assume that it happened after the erisin. So we said the first answer of the Gemara Tavra Mishashana Zu Lo Shana Zu seems to be the Reisha is going according to Rabbi Yeshua on Daf Yud Beis. The Seif is going according to Rabbi Gamliel. Now Rava gives a different answer, a little bit below the halfway point of Ayin Ham and Beis. Rava, the first word of the line is Rava. Rava Amar, Reisha kan nimsu v'kan hayu, Seifa nami kan nimsu v'kan hayu. The first part of our Mishnah, where the mumen are discovered in Beis Avia while she's still in her father's house after the erisin. So therefore we have a tliya. We'll explain what a tliya is in Yot Ben Sion. Tliya means that you hang something. We have what to hang our hats on. It's not an assumption, let's say, but it's what to hang our hats on. It's a tzliya, it's a contingency that I wouldn't say assume, but there's more suspicion to believe that it happened in her father's house. It happened in her father's house and happened before the erisin, right? So it's upon the father to prove that it happened after the erisin. However, the Seifa, which is talking about where it's nimsu based by law, they already got married, so therefore we said kan nimsu kan hayu. If the husband finds it when she's already in his reshus, they got married already, so it's the burden of proof is on him. To explain this svaro, I'm going to have to explain. Well, the svaro will be explained. Kanim su kan hayu. The achronim talk about this at length. This famous shiurim given on it by all the major achronim. We'll talk. My opinion of what exactly is going on over here will be explained as the Gemara proceeds. But basically, that's what it means. It's a tliya, meaning it's not an assumption. It's not a chazaka. It's not such a good proof. However, it's like a 65% proof. It's 15% more than a suffix. As I've talked about a tliya more. So, in the past. So, the Gemara says, Abaye asked the question on Rava. The Mishnah says, she went to Shuzabal, Baal Sarach Lavi Raya. Sha'ad Shalot Tisar, say, well, movement, Elu, Hayam Mechel Mechotos. He has to prove that the moment happened before the erisin. Otherwise, it happened after the erisin. No matter if he made a tanai, I don't have mumen. She's mikudeshes because the moment happened after the erisin. Ad shalot zaris. Asamaris the abayis medayik ad shalot zaris. Right, he has to prove that the moment happened before the erisin. In mishasaris lo. If he proves it after the erisin, no. V'amai lema kanim subkan hayu. If he's able to prove the moment happened after the erisin, or at least prove, it could either happen after the erisin while she's Beis Avia or before. He can't prove which one. So once he's able to prove that it happened to Beis Avia, right? So then we should say kanim su kan hayu. We have proof. Adam said it happened to Beis Avia. So we should say based on the Eidos kanim su kan hayu. Amar Leis, he said back to him. Rava said back to him. Mishum dikal meimar chazak inam shows the bekos elim kain bodko. Even if we can prove that Adam say there was mumen after the erisin, right? There's a chazaka, there's an assumption. Chazaka means either a status quo or an assumption, a 75% proof that a man would not go through with the nisu and have bia with her, right? Before they actually consummate their intercourse, he's going to see her naked and he's going to determine whether she has mumen or not. And obviously he didn't see mumen. And if he saw the mumen, and obviously he consummated the marriage, we're talking about where they're still married, way after the first night, so he was okay with the mumen, he was mochel in his tanai. Either his mochel or, like the Gemara says, he was okay with it. Nami. So the Gemara says, even if they prove that the woman happened before the Erusin, right, the fact that he was together with her, right, shows that he's okay with the movement. So why do you have to prove, right? What does it help if he proves it before the Erusin, right? How does it invalidate the marriage? She already accepted her. Ella Amrinan Chazak in a movement. We assume he didn't see the movement because a person generally, if he sees the movement on his wife, he's not going to be happy. So the Gemara says, Chazak in a movement. So here also we should say a chazaka. If it's after the erusin, also he's not going to happen at the moment. Ella mishin zarsa, so the Gemara retracts. Mishin zarsa, if he proves that the moment happened after the erusin, shadiga tarta. You have two things going in your favor. Chazaka, hamid hagufa chazkasa, right? We could say that there's a chazaka that the body, right, was born without movement, right? Well, we assume the body was born without movement, so normally the movement happened at the latest point. The chazaka enam shota b'kos elim kabodko ba'arayim ifayasu. And secondly, right, not only do we assume the movement happened at the later point after the erusin, but also, even if he were to see them, he said it's okay. My amras chazaka enam afayas movement. They'll say what it couldn't be that he saw it because the person wouldn't be happy with the movement. Heavy chada on top of ayin vav and aleph. Heavy chada b'makom tarti v'chada b'makom tarti lo amrinon. We don't say we have two chazakas competing against one chazaka, right? So basically, the chazaka is about the movement, whether he knew about the movement or he's mafayas, the movement cancel each other out. We have the chazaka as a guf, right? That the moment happened at the latest possible time after the erusin. So the Gemara continues to explain, Ad shelo tisares hemed hagufa chazkaso lo ikal meimar, right? If he proved that the movement happened before the erusin, so there's no chazak guf, right? We don't say that chazak guf tells us it happened at the latest possible point, because we know it happened before the erusin. My ikal meimar, lo ikal meimar, my ikal. What do you have? Chazak and I'm showing the because of them kambodko. You know the chazak, a person, he checked it out and he was okay with the movement. But high rabbi and fayas to other rabbi, but other in the opposite direction, a chazak and a fayas movement. Presumably he didn't see it because the person wouldn't be happy with movement. So therefore you just have canceling out chazakas, and therefore the mummy remains in his chazaka. And it's upon the father to prove it. He wants to be mostly the moment from the husband. He has to prove it. So that's basically so at the end, the summation of what we're saying over here is basically that if it was in the father's house, right, the suffix arose. So kan nimsu kan hayu. Therefore, he has to prove it, right? The father has to prove it. If it's in the husband's rishos after the bia, so then we also say kan nimsu kan hayu. And you also have the reason the Gemara explains. It's not just kan nimsu kan hayu. In addition to that, you have offsetting chazakas, right? The person's not in a fayas moment, but also he ain't adam showed dibakos adam gambodko. He wouldn't be together with her if he didn't check out the movement. So you have those chazakas offset each other. Plus you have the chazaka hemed gufal chazkasa. So therefore the movement happened at the latest possible point after the erusin. So therefore you have a little bit of proof in terms of chazaka, in terms of 75% proof in terms of the husband. So therefore you need kam ninsu b'kan hayu, right, to prove that if they were found in the father's rishus. So therefore, if it was happened in the Rishus of the Baal, so that's going to be enough, along with the Chezkes Haguf, in order to be mostly the Mamon. The Chezkes Haguf, you can't be mostly Mamon the Chazaka. You need a raya to be mostly Mamon. Here, the Av or the daughter wants to be mostly Mamon, the full Kesuba, or to get married and to man the Kesuba. So you need Chezkes Haguf. We said it's not good enough. It's not a raya. So therefore, Kanim Zukanhayu is an addition to this Chezkes Haguf. We had offsetting Chazakas about movement. Then you have the Chezkes Haguf plus Kanim Sukan Hayu, which has a Tliya, which is like 65%, which is 15% better than 50%. So you add 15% plus 75%, you have 90%. 90% is good enough for the father to be mostly the Mammon if the Mummon were found in the Rishus of the Baal. That's basically the explanation. I will elaborate on this a little more in Iyun Ben Sion. So the Gemara continues. Rashi says, Rashi, Amaresha Manal Abba, he gives a third way of understanding our Mishnah. Resha Manal Abba biyadcha v'seifa Manal li biyadcha. The Resha, right, she's still in her father's house. So presumably she's still not a Bulgaris, she's still a Nara or she's a Ktana. So who's in charge of the money? Who's collecting the money? The Kedushin, the money for the ksuba. Her father is entitled to it. So therefore, her cheskas aguf can't be used for the father. Who's making the claim? The father. The father's making the claim. He can't use her cheskas aguf. The seifa wana libi yodcha. However, the seifa was talking about already in the shus of the husband. She's the one demanding the money. Once she's demanding the money, she could use her cheskas aguf because it's up to her. She's no longer in her father's house. She's demanding the ksuba for herself. She can use her cheskas aguf to support her own claim, not to support her father's claim. Asked Rav Ashi, Motor and Mayor Mumin Aruin Lavo Imab Besavia. Shala Avla Havi Raya. We have a brisa. Rameir says he admits that by Mumin that presumably could come in from a father's house that are very frequent, that it's on the father to bring a raya. Damai Monali Biyadchahu, right? Why is it upon the father? How does it help the father? Right? He's the one demanding the money, right? Rameir says it's upon the father to bring the proof. How could he bring a proof, right? It's manale biyadcho. So the Marin Zakamai Askina biyaseras. Here we're talking about the movement Rameir was talking about. We're talking about where she has an extra finger. She has a hand with six fingers on it, right? In that case, right, we assume 6 fingers you don't grow a 6th finger in the middle of your life. You're born with a 6th finger, so therefore we could assume it happened at birth. So the Gemara says, "Be a seres, my raya maisi." What proof is the father going to bring to take out the ksuba? For sure, the mum happened before the erison. It happened at her birth. So the Gemara says, Raya the Rav Nefayis. So the only proof the father can bring is that he can bring a proof that the husband saw that she had an extra finger, and he was okay with it. If he can prove that the husband knows about this extra finger and he was okay with it, then the father could take out the money in that case. The reason we're going to talk about this is a discussion talked about numerous times in Shas, is because the end of this discussion will be relevant to our Mishnahs. People made transactions. It used to be you couldn't just go buy cows or go buy donkeys. If you're wondering how much a cow is going for, the going rate for cows these days, I was just at this place near Telstone. My kids, called Malach Hamisha here, they have a barn with some cows over there. So I Googled it. I asked my Google assistant, how much does a cow cost? What's the going rate for a cow? He says, between $2,000 to $5,000. If it's for milking, it's a little cheaper. If it's for its meat or to work, so then it's a little bit more expensive. So it could go $2,000 to $5,000. Now, donkeys, I didn't ask Google how much they cost, but apparently, I guess donkeys, I'm not sure which one. I guess a cow is probably, the meat is better with a cow, and milk, you get milk from a cow. The chomer, you ride on it. Anyway, it was a really good donkey. Maybe the donkey that Mashiach is going to come on. So the person, they're bartered. They did a trade, a cow for a donkey. That was a trade, right? So it's kona, an animal, which is a heavy thing. You can only kona Mashiach, the Gemara says in Kedusha. So when the first person does Mashiach, that means the kinyan happened already. The owner who used to own the chamor, now he's getting a para, and he pulled the para. He's moshech the para. He let it. The Baal Para didn't pull the chamor. By the time he got around to pulling the chamor, the donkey had already died. Who has to bring the proof? So the Baal Chamor, right, who previously owned the chamor, and he pulled the cow, he has to bring a proof, right? It's on him to bring the proof that his donkey that he just gave to the Baal Para was still alive at the time that he pulled the cow. As long as he pulled the cow before his donkey died, or his previously owned donkey died, it'll be okay. With time of tuna kala, Shmuel brought a proof to what he said, to the psak halacha from kala, from a mishnah which talks about kala. So, hi kala, what mishnah he's talking about? Ilay makala. What do you say we're talking about kala, bebeis avia? Like our Mishnah, the reish of our Mishnah, midami. What's the comparison? Also, maisi avrayo mapik. Therefore, if she's a beis avia, the reish of our Mishnah says the father has to bring a raya. The movement happened after the erison, and he is motzi the ksuva. Hacha maisi balachama raya umokim. Here, the balachama, the one who previously owned the chamor, he brings a proof and he keeps what he has. He's not being motzi mamon. He has the par already. Amar of Abba. So Rabbi says Kala Beis Chameha, right? The safe of our Mishnah, where she was already in her father-in-law's house. Vakati lo dami. The Gemara says it's still not comparable. Hasam bal maisi rayo morale lechazke da'af. Right? The husband brings a proof. He has to bring a proof that the movement happened before the eris did. He ruins the chazaka of the father. The father had a chazaka cheskes aguf, right? That it happened after the eris. And haka bal lachar maisi rayo umukim cheske biyade. Now the chazaka, we have a chazaka kol mashtachas yada adam areu kishalo. So he has the power in his possession. So he's bringing a proof, and he's keeping what already belongs to him. So it's different. One case, he's ruining someone else's chazaka. In this case, he's supporting his own chazaka. So they're not comparable. Amar Rav Nachman Yitzchak Kala Beis Avia El Kiddushin. We're talking about from our Mishnah, but our Mishnah was discussing in the Kesubos. But there's also discussion about the Demei Kiddushin, right? Let's say the marriage was invalidated, so there was money given over for the Kiddushin. Who gets the money? The father. The father of the girl accepts the money. So now we're discussing if the marriage is invalidated, does the Kiddushin money go back? Right, so Machlok is in Baba Basra, right? When someone gives money for Kiddush to a father and then the girl dies before the Nisuin, right? So does the father get to retain the money or has to give it back? So according to Mandamar Kiddushin Lav Tibun Nisnu Tibun, like to drown, right? It's not. It's meant to be given. It's not meant to be given back. Right? Even according to Mandamar, it says Kiddushin make Kiddushin once you give it, right? It's given to be drowned. You're not getting it back. Hani mili Kiddushay Vadai. That's only about Kiddushay Vadai. She just died before the Nisuin. Al Kiddushay Tos. Here in our case, it might see Raya any low. It depends on you bring a proof. So that's what we're bringing a proof. The support that he said, Tana Tuna Kala, is talking about our Mishnah, but it's talking about the Demei Kiddushin. Demei Kiddushin in a case where it's a suffix whether the Kiddushin happened or was a Kiddushay Tos or not. So that's what the support was, that the father, if he brings a proof, he gets to keep the Demei Kiddushin over here. Similar to the Baal HaChamor, he gets to keep the Parah if he brings a proof. Basically, the Gemara has a question from Brisa. Machashim says, "Ba'ovi beis hakosos." This is in Mesechas Chulin, right? If you find that the animal had a treifa, meaning had a wound that would have died within 12 months, and it was shechted, so therefore the meat is not kosher. So Machashim says, "Ba'ovi beis hakosos." You shecht the animal, and you find in one of the chambers, or the digestion chamber, the reticulum of the animal, that you found a needle there. Misad echad, if it punctured one wall, it has a double wall over there. If it punctured one wall, Kshera, that's not a treifa. Mishneitzad, and if it punctured two walls, treifa, that is a treifa. Nimsa ala kurat dam, if on the needle there's a speck of blood, then you know that the treifas happened before the shchita, which, right, so you need two things. You need to puncture two walls and to have blood in it. Nimsa ala kurat dam, shchita. Even if it punctured two walls, if it doesn't have blood on it, you know it happened after the shchita. It's not a treifa. Huglat piyamaka, let's say, it punctured two walls, but there's a scar over there. Biyadua sheshlosh yamim kodem shchita. Then you know that it was punctured 3 days before the shchita. Lohugla piyamaka. If there was no scab, hamotzi mechaver avaraya. Then we assume it is a treifa. And hamotzi mechaver avaraya, meaning if the guy already paid for the animal, so it depends who has the money over here. If he paid for the animal already, so then the person who wants to take the money back from him has to bring a raya. If he didn't give the money, so the person who wants to make him pay has to bring a raya. V'yayiv tavach dami, right? One of these two cases, let's say the tavach, the butcher who's buying the animal, he gave money, ba'ilasui raya mapik. He has to bring a proof, right? He has to bring a proof that it was a treifa and be motzi the mamon. V'amai bal behema laisi raya v'nokim. The owner of the animal who sold it to the tavach, he should bring a proof v'nokim and keep it. Right, keep the money with him, just like the case of Machlat Parah B'Chomer. It's talking about a case where the butcher didn't give money. My psaka. How do you know it's only talking about that case? Don't listen to my brother Yehuda said the name of Shmuel. Haki Amar Shmuel. This is what Shmuel said about a Machlat Parah B'Chomer. Kol shenolad tzavek rishus olav haraya. He says halacha when it comes to a Machlat Parah B'Chomer, similar to our Mishnah, which Rava says. Right, he says kan nimsu kan hayu. This svara of wherever wherever the mum is found, that's where we assume it happens. So therefore, the same thing applies by machlef para b'chamor, right? So the case, right, the suffix was nolad bershuso, right? And the case here, when the person's machlef para b'chamor, right, the Baal HaChomor got the para, so he did a Mashiach on the para, and the Baal HaPara, right, the Chomer died in his Rishus, so it's upon him to bring the raya, not upon the Baal HaChomer to bring the raya. But Tana Tuna Kala, and from that we have a clear proof from our mission, just like Rav explained, Kan Nimsu Kan Hayu. Meisive, still a question. Makash Nimsus Belvi Besa Kosos, from that Mishnah we quoted, Vidal Yaif Tavach Dame, if there were two possible cases, whether the butcher paid for it or didn't. If he didn't pay for it, Baal Behema Baal Sui Raya Mapik, the Baal Behema, according to what you're saying, Kan Nimsu Kan Hayu, right? The owner of the animal sold it to the Tavach, he has to bring a raya and take the money out. But my Sveka Bershus Tavach is Yalid, right? The suffix happened in the Rishus of the Tavach, right? He shechted it. We don't know when the treifas happened. Gemara says the Yav Tavach Dami is talking about where the Tavach already gave money. He gave money already. My psak. How do you know it's only talking about that? A person in general is not going to give his animal to someone else unless he got money. So therefore, the standard and the only case that was talking about in this Mishnah or Brisa about treifas is talking about already gave the money to the salesman. So therefore, he is. It would not be a question anymore. Kan nimsu, kan hayu, because even though it was fake b'shus tavach is yalid, right? The suffix happened in the shus of the tavach. However, he already gave the money, so therefore he's not being. He would have to be motzi the money, right? It happened in his rishus, so he has to be motzi the money. Kan nimsu, kan hayu. The burden of proof is upon the tavach who doesn't have the money. He wants to bring. He has to bring a proof to be motzi the money in that case. So all would work out well, and we see from the different version of Shmuel, the second version of Shmuel, a support to Rava, Kan Nimsu Kan Hayu. I will explain Kan Nimsu Kan Hayu a little better. I did explain it pretty well in the regular share, if you're listening. Just to clarify and elaborate, I will explain a little better. And it's a famous shir given by a lot of Achronim, Kan Nimsu Kan Hayu. I will explain it the way I know how, coming up, Ian Ben Sion, next.